Well, we found him.
Looks like it after all these years, 40-something years.
How many years has it been?
Well, since, yeah, I guess he'd be 41. We'll ask him.
He's supposed to be here in about 5 minutes, I think. It's gonna be. We've never met him.
No, absolutely not.
Earl Wiseman's son.
Yeah.
You have to, the people watching, you'll have to watch the episode. The doc called it with Parish Lips. Last episode to know what we're talking about. But we've been looking for our good friend Earl Wiseman, who died at the age of 21. We was looking for his son,
Yeah.
who died when he was probably 16 months old. We didn't know where his mother was, and we did the episode, and since then we've been contacted by enough people where we found him, and he's going to be here today.
Yeah.
So, are you nervous?
I wasn't until just a bit ago, but I am now. Yeah.
I mean, it's a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Wondered all these years, but run into him, but apparently have not.
Over the last 40 years, have you ever now and then thought, what's going to happen to his son?
Oh, absolutely.
In fact, we weren't even positive he existed, right?
Wasn't 100% sure. No. No, I just knew of from the granddad. Talked to him. Heard him.
His Earl's sister's supposed to be here too.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's going to fill some gaps. We're going to fill in some gaps from the story and life and times of Earl Wiseman.
Yeah. Man, he was a good friend.
Hey, I think I heard him. Well, this is interesting, isn't it?
A little bit.
Does he look like Earl to you?
Yeah.
Kind of salty out there.
No, he was a good-looking guy. I can't wait to find the pictures. Well, I have him.
So, did you watch the episode last time when we were hunting? Did somebody tell you to watch it?
Yes. Yeah, my money manager, Paul, reached out and he's like, who was your dad again? And he and I he never knew. He was like, Earl's like, yeah, how do you know this guy's name? He said, there was a YouTube video that you need to see. I was like, all right. He goes, I'll send it over to you and let me know from there. So after that, he was like, do you want to talk to him or anything? He goes, I can get you hooked up. Sure, yeah, send me the information. Or send them the information. So
It was pretty quick. Was that Paul Hickman?
it was Paul Hickman.
He's a good Clevelander, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, if you want to know anything about Cleveland that's happened within the last 60, 80 years, he can probably track it down because he's probably got pictures, and I know I've supplied him with several. So,
Very good.
Whenever you read a story in the newspaper or see something on television about somebody getting arrested, you naturally assume they're guilty. Unless the story's about you or someone you love, then you'll think differently. And you'll want a lawyer who will defend you. My name's Scott Canavis. If you or someone you love has been charged with a crime, call me. I'll return your phone calls, I'll work on your case, and I will defend you.
So this is Earl's sister, and she lived in the same neighborhood we did. And you look familiar now that I see you. Of course, I guess I was in the...
This is probably what you remember me.
Yeah. You look like that girl on...
My
Could you get that, Glenn?
older sister.
Yeah. Well, do you ever remember me coming over to the house and picking up Earl?
No.
And in fairness, I don't independently remember you either, so, but, yeah, made a few stops over there.
That's Tina, our older sister.
Oh, which one was... How old was she? Is she?
She's 59, born 59.
So she's the same age as me. But you know, when you're that young, you don't remember certain things, and some things you do. But I remember going over to Earl's, and he would keep snakes in jars, in those formaldehyde jars. He had them lined up like in the windowsill.
Holy moly. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I knew about one.
Yeah.
But I didn't know he had a collection.
Oh, he had a collection. Yeah.
Dear Jesus.
Do you have any pictures of Earl?
Yes, I actually do.
See, we don't have any pictures.
He, this was when he was at North Lee.
Oh, this is what I remember. This is what I remember. Glenn.
Yeah.
So you did him at a little
Yeah.
younger age than obviously I did at the 20.
Yeah.
20 years old.
What grade would he have been in here?
I have no idea. I'm just sorry.
Earl Wiseman.
Yeah, those are the only two.
And this would have been about the 5th grade, something like that. That's about when I knew him right here. Get that one, Gwen. That's the most I remember.
Yeah.
That's when he said, "Oh, I don't ever do Valentine's." And see, this was when he had gotten older. This is a good picture of him.
Yeah.
And that's about when you started running
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Picture I remember him. Get in that 67 Camaro and headed out. And I was young, so were we. A lot of good fun.
Well, how
times.
tall was Earl?
Now, I thought he was really tall. And you've seen me, I'm really short. But I always thought he was like, he was the tallest one in our family. He was like 5'10" or, yeah.
Well, that was the shirts back in them. That was the style.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How old do you think he was in this picture?
That was the Cleveland High School picture. So, I have no idea.
Let's see, now he went
Sorry.
to Cleveland Junior High or Cleveland High?
He went to both. He went to Bradley for a while, but after he got kicked out, he went to Cleveland.
Just like Earl.
So he started at Bradley,
I believe so.
and then I wonder what he got kicked out for.
I have no idea. Our parents were going through stuff, and so I just recently found a letter from a school saying that the parents didn't come for a conference, and that was actually why he was suspended one time, because the parents didn't go.
And your dad was Ernie?
Yeah.
And he worked at Hall Chevrolet?
Hall Chevrolet. This is when he was a young man. I
worked at
just bought it for
Superior before
him.
Superior.
Yeah.
Yeah, Superior.
If you're from Cleveland, you know where Superior is. If you're a resident or local,
Superior's, that would have been a quarter palace that went later on, the quarter palace.
Down next to Midas.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, Superior
Yeah.
had that long service bay on
Yeah.
the side. But that thing's been gone for 25 years-ish.
So where was you raised?
Not far from where Ernie and the family grew up, Robin Hood Drive. So about 2 blocks.
Well, according to
blocks.
David Jenkins, he called me this week,
Okay.
and he said he remembered Earl well also. And he remembers, and he brought back some memories of us playing football over on Brad Street, where those 2 houses are now. And he said Earl would always come over there with shorts and no shirt. And I remember that now. That was about this age. And he said that Tammy lived over on Robin Hood Drive, and he thinks that Earl knew her prior to them meeting at Tokens.
It's possible. The all the streets right through there,
Yeah.
especially maybe up until recently, all of them used to be connected via bike trails. So even when I was in middle school, it was nothing to ride down in between subdivisions, shoot across Mouse Creek, go down to Hunter's Run, going back down to Baker's Village. So you would run around that way, and I can imagine it was still that way in the 60s and 70s as well. So or late early 80s. So
Well, according to
obviously.
David, they had a motorbike track behind your mother's house.
Yeah.
He said that he thinks he ran into you about a year ago at an estate sale. Would you have been there?
No, I wasn't there. If it was at an estate sale, I was not there. It could have been at the house.
He said it was at the house.
Yeah, I wasn't there. But
He says he thought he met you there.
no, I wasn't there. I hired it out, had it done, and one of the contract stipulations was like, don't show up. Got it. So I wasn't there. If he came beforehand, maybe, but my recollection with names is terrible. I'll remember your face for decades, but your name, no.
That's
I met a girl today, actually, when we were going to pick the dog up. I saw her and was like, I know her. I don't know her name. And then she told me, I was like, oh yeah, I remember you.
What's the earliest memory? Did she ever tell you that who your dad was?
I learned about who my dad was when I was probably around 15, 16, as far as that goes. And I
What
think
did you
I've heard
think
some
prior?
stories. I had no reason to ask. I mean, I didn't ask. I didn't.
You thought the dad that was there was your dad?
No, not at all. I just knew that my dad had passed away. And for me, that was good enough because if he's already passed away, then what do I care? At 8 years old, I mean, dead is dead. So I didn't ask him anything. And it wasn't till about 15 or 16 I kind of asked a little bit more questions. And because it was never something that was, grandparents knew nothing really about him. They said they had never met him. They had met Ernest and Rosie. They had met them, but they had never met Ernest. Earl. I apologize, good names flipped up here. But they had never met that way. So when I was 16, I think is when I finally met Ernest and kind of got to talk a little bit.
What did he say?
Not a whole lot from what I remember. It was kind of one of those things like I didn't bring it up, so if he wanted to talk about it, cool, we'd talk about it. But if he didn't want to talk
But
about
you
it,
knew he was your grandfather?
yes, yeah. Tammy told me, she was like, well, he lives down here. This is his name. His wife was Rose, and so she told me, all the information when I eventually started prying into it. But it was never. I guess here's an open book, and this is everything about it. So. Yes.
And so when you went to see Ernie on the year after he passed away, or the
20th, yeah.
20th year,
20th anniversary.
he mentioned him,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And that's the first I'd known that I knew there'd been a kid, but I didn't know, what had evolved since. You're talking a 20-year period.
Yeah, so I had met him probably about 5 years before that.
Okay.
And we stayed in touch. I'd talk to him at least once a month. We'd talk, and then sometimes I'd just swing by, say hi, or I'd swing by the shop, say hi. And that's kind of how we built our connection, friendship, and kind of worked on it. But we never really talked we didn't ever talk about history too awful much. We went down some rabbit holes, but overall it was just kind of current day events.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the connection, the McMinn County area connection. Did the
how did she
grandparents live up that way?
No, the grandparents never lived up that way. There are other McDonalds that live in Riceville, Calhoun, McMinn, There's other McDonald's that live up there for sure.
Were they kin? Any relation that you know of?
Yeah, well, yeah.
It must have been.
Now there is a clan of McDonald's that is separate. There's another guy I work with, the exact same name, and we had to prove it to someone. We were at a Catholic church. She was like, "You're both named the same." I was like, "Yeah, kid you not." She's like, "License, show me a license." So again, not related to him, not related to that clan at all. But yeah, there's some that live in Riceville. Some still live over in Etowah. I don't think anyone's left in Charleston. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Where Tammy was working at that time, no idea. But it's not unthinkable or irrational, just depending on where you may have dropped her off at.
Yeah.
One of the relatives used to live close to Olin, and then one of the relatives more up towards the Dairy Cream Bar. It's a small little brown restaurant.
Right, I know
that
the
sits
area.
on the side. Bowling alleys are over on the other side of the street there in Athens, Congress Parkway.
So that may have been how she got to Jiffy Mart, because that's when
Yeah.
Parrish saw her.
And
Yeah,
back.
that little Jiffy Mart, is that like in the corner, little corner section?
Not really. It's right across the street from McMinn County High.
kind of a diagonal,
Okay.
yeah.
You're kind of
Okay.
diagonal.
It's 80
And
that was
so
either
that's when
86
he hadn't seen her since then and ran into her there.
Yeah, 86 or 87.
So we're trying to figure out how she got. That's why we didn't know that we didn't know she lived on Robin Hood Drive till David Jenkins filled in that gap.
Yep. That's where that was home. I know there was a little bit of a rift between her and the grandparents. She went to stay with the state for a little while, so she spent a little time with the state, and I don't know if she got asked to leave the house for a little while or what. I have no idea. But the grandparents are the ones that raised me, and Tammy was around, but that was after she had fulfilled her state requirements, so to speak. So,
He was always very nice to me.
well, that's good to hear. That Tammy was sweet. She was sweet. I could see from the stories I've heard, I could see how Earl and Tammy would have gotten along pretty well. I could see the two of them probably getting into some mischief, and having a good time. So I could see that.
Can you see that?
I don't know. I always thought he was a good little brother. I mean, since I was always able to bully him, and he wouldn't pick on me.
Were you the middle child or the
Yes,
older child?
I was the middle child, and we picked on him. That poor little thing when he was growing up. My first memories are how we were mean to him, and
Y'all lived in a split level, right?
Yep, I still live there. Very same place.
Oh, you still live there?
I was laughing watching your show. I was like, "Oh, you Sherlock Holmes and Mr. Watson."
Well, do you remember Sean Hassan that lived behind
Yes,
there? He
yes.
died, didn't he?
Yes, he unfortunately had a cancer.
Yeah.
Went to school with his sister Michelle.
Michelle, I think I've still heard.
Beautiful girl. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness,
Michelle
beautiful
Hassan, yeah.
family.
And then had the brother named Richard. Wasn't it Richard Hassan?
I don't remember him. I do
He was
remember
the oldest
Sean. He
one.
was younger.
He was my age.
Michelle was mine.
Me and Sean ran together.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a rough neighborhood, wasn't it, at that time?
Well, he took care of the underdog. That was my brother.
That's why he liked me.
Always looked out for the little
That's
guy.
That's why I sat by him on the bus.
Because he was the one that was always picked on. And it wasn't just us. There was like teenage boys across the street, and I guess when we were just too mean for him, he would go over there, and the teenage boys, they were older than, like what, 5 or 6, and here he was like 4 or 5, and he would go over there, and because they were like boys, and then he loved to go there, and I never knew that until after we were all grown up. I asked him, well, how did you learn about getting high and stuff. Because we didn't learn that at the house.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, across the street, and there were boys, and they told him about how to do that. And I was like, why would they do that? Because he said, I think they thought it was funny to see the little boy, the little one, get drunk and stuff. I'm like, wow, you never know.
Who was it lived across the street?
Oh, but that was in Michigan. That was
Okay.
Troy, Michigan.
Oh, and that's before y'all, that's not in Cleveland.
No, we didn't move down here until 70.
My dad said that he was walking through the subdivision and Earl came out and said Elvis Presley died. He was the one that told my dad Elvis died. So that would have been what year?
76.
76.
Was it? Or, I was 16.
So Earl would have
so
been what? 12?
He was 64.
Everybody
12, yeah.
always remembers
Yeah, 'cause
where they were
64,
when Elvis died, right? Well, my dad remembers Earl telling him. I didn't know that till this last show came out.
A few things have crept out, I guess, since the last show.
It has, yeah.
And it is good to know that, even though once you're gone, your name and the friends don't forget you. So,
Yeah, I can show you on my left arm, all the bracelets that I've worn. And it takes a minute to get these things tarnished.
I've got one too.
One by one. I never forgotten your dad.
that's awesome.
I have one of those.
I gave Ernie a few of those that day on the 20th anniversary. So he did hand those out. Yeah. It's one by one, and wear it every day.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Never forgotten Earl. I've repeated that before, but yeah, a lot of good times out running around. Good clean fun there. Like I said in the show, I'd heard about him before I actually physically met him. I had a reputation with the girls there, which was a good one, and I need to run with this.
Yeah.
Need to run with this guy, and it worked out. Had a lot of fun, a lot of great memories.
Cool.
When I saw you walk in, you walked like Earl.
Just the gait, it's
something
my feet
about the
are
way
odd too. It's
something about the way you swing your arms is what I saw.
I wish I could have met him a little bit more than I did, for a little bit longer than I did, but he seems like he'd been a lot
I
of
wonder if if he ever knew you even existed. That would be a question.
Yes. Yeah, he knew I existed.
What makes you think that?
A couple of things. He actually, because there for a little while, him and, as boys will do at times, they will have their outs with their father. And during the time of, I guess, one of his rebellions, he was like, you know what? You're not even going to see your grandson. I'm going to keep him away from you. And that was what happened there for a while. And I don't know why. I don't know what.
But he died
Cast
when you
my
were, what,
voice.
16 months old? Is that right?
Yeah, close, yeah. Right at. Because 82, December 18th, and then he passed away May 28th of 84. 20 years old, 4 months, 8 days.
20 years old.
How many years would he have been born, Parrish? You're better at math than I am.
Not
The 16
very long.
months. Wow.
Yeah. I remember taking a call from Tammy, tell me she was pregnant, and then kind of, I don't know, if they didn't agree with it, agreed, I don't remember, I don't know what she shared with you over the years, if anything. And then they split up, and then we were out running around together again, kind of been a while, but like I was saying in the previous show, kind of stepped away, and he kind of doing his thing out in left field there, and I had this job, and I was trying to get somewhere, and there's a tad bit of responsibility on me that I just, I look back and think I just couldn't get a hold of him. So I do just chill on this business.
I understand.
But it just didn't really make that big an effort, but I've always thought about it, over the years.
Before he did pass away, from everything that I've heard and understand, he had started coming back around from that.
Good.
So he had started, he'd been like, this is not a good path for me. I do have a son. And he and Tammy had started talking again. How much into that extent, I don't know. But he had seemingly talked to the parents about getting married. So there was
Wow.
some kind of connection roundabout that came on. How far into that it went, again, piquito. So I don't know. But that's what I've been told. So
Good to hear. Very good to hear. Yeah.
See, what's odd is I've known Parrish for years too, and so he has this disco dance show on select Saturday nights.
okay.
So he generally calls me, and if I'm here working on something, I'll tune in. So at the end of his show, he says, out of the blue, or I thought it was out of the blue, he said, I want to remember several people, and he said, and Earl Wiseman. And I thought, Earl Wiseman, I hadn't heard that name in years. So I called him the next week and said, is that the Earl Wiseman? He said, yeah. So that was so ironic that I would have even been watching his show and watched it till the end, and it all, everything, it was just so coincidental.
Right.
Is that God?
It has to be, because when he texted me, hey, they've done this interview and they mentioned Earl, would you be interested? I was like, Brandon, of course I'll be interested. He said, we'll watch it and then we'll talk. So it was, yeah. Wow. Thank you.
Now, Ernie, he used to, did he ride a bicycle or walk a lot, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, we come from preacher families. And like way back in the Civil War is the first one, that's as far back as I can find it, James Wiseman. And they called him Preacher Wiseman. Then his son was Ernest's grandfather, Henry Benjamin. And they did this thing like Enoch. They would walk with God. And pray and walk all the time. And instead of praying to work, walking to work, he would have been late, I guess. So he rode the bike, but that was his time with the Lord. He always did. Early in the morning before it got light, he'd be out prayer walking.
Yeah. I remember seeing him down the street.
Yeah, he didn't look like a hobo or nothing. He always wore a hat, if I remember.
Yeah.
White shirt and blue jeans.
Yeah. If you would stop to talk to him, he would start telling you scriptures. He memorized a lot.
Yeah, the day I talked to him, especially on the 20th anniversary, he quoted the 91st Psalm to do with the Most High, and gave me that cassette set on the Bible.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. It made me feel comfortable. I didn't know what the reaction would be, and he did not independently remember me coming picking up Earl, and it wasn't a lot. It was probably 6 or 8 times, but been to the house over there. So,
Did you pull in the driveway, or did you just pull up in front of the house?
it seemed
Well,
like
you probably pulled in.
pull up, driveway. It seemed like it was I don't know if Earl was in there doing push-ups or what before we got out of the town, but it was always a long, drawn-out process. It wasn't, hey, let's go. We hit the
He had to
game
get
room.
ready.
We got to go get the cotton candy at the skating rink before it gets, down to the bottom. He was.
Did Earl take a while to get ready?
I didn't remember that. But
Maybe I
I do
showed up
remember how
early.
funny he was. And he did have cars, but he would work on them, because that's another thing, Ernest being a mechanic, and Earl would work on the cars too. So he had this wonderful car one time. I heard about it, and he would take his friends out driving. I was wondering if you were there too. Like 3 or 4 friends in the car, and they're driving down the highway. Car broke down. So I don't know how they got back. Had it towed back to the house, and this happened like 3 times, maybe 4. On the 4th time that they're on the highway, after he'd fixed it up again, and it broke down on the highway, he's like, this is not going to happen again. And he got the trunk of the car. There was a thing of gas, poured it on the car, and lit her up.
Now that was Earl I remember.
And
He just had enough.
I love it. They took him to court. Somebody did, and they told the judge he did all this for the insurance money. And Earl said, I didn't have insurance on it. And the judge was laughing, and he said, well, we're going to have to charge you for the fire department coming out and doing that. So he had to pay that, but that was fine. That's my brother.
I've had that sensation before.
What other pictures you got?
Oh, I didn't have many. I was, just wanted to bring them for family. I think these are the ones that the family made. It was being the one that was on the casket because
Right.
it was closed casket.
Yeah, now you
To
went to
give
the
away.
you went to the funeral, right? I can't remember where I was at. What year was that again?
Obviously, May of '84. Yeah, late May of '84.
So I had probably just graduated high school.
Yeah, early part of June too, so
You care if I keep
you
one
found
of
the
these?
28th.
No, as a matter of fact, if
They had held
anybody
the
wants them,
body
I'm going to
there
leave those
for a
with
bit.
you.
Yeah.
Not all these.
No, just those.
Not this. I remember him here.
I believe, yeah.
I'm gonna take
Yeah.
a
It's got a
copy.
left parlor.
What's this?
That
one?
was in the
believe
newspaper.
it's
right part.
And Earl is on the far left.
I think that's where it
A
was.
Christmas pageant.
Which one?
The far left on
Right here?
he's a shepherd.
So this is a Christmas pageant, members of the Boys Club of Cleveland, under the direction of Clyde McGuire, presented a night before Christmas play for club members, parents, and guests. Principal characters in the nativity scene from the left: Earl Wiseman, Jimmy Tucker, Something Blair, Al Lemons, Sheila, Tana Godfrey, Susan Hill, Kim Cathy. Wonder what year that was. Here it is, 1973. Wonder. So he went to the boys' club.
Yeah.
I did too back in the day. Played football.
Did you take karate lessons?
No, played for White's Used Cars at the Pee Wee League or whatever it was.
Earl probably wasn't big into the boys' club. He was there. He wasn't there for his. All right. So this here is presented to Earl Wiseman in sincere appreciation and recognition of distinguished service and loyal devotion in law enforcement presented by the Cleveland Police Department. Now explain that.
Okay, well, he happened to be at a public function. I think it was a game of some kind, either a basketball game or football game, and he saw somebody steal a lady's purse. They were underneath the bleachers, and they stole the lady's purse, and he told the security guard or the police officer, somebody, and they caught him, and the lady got her purse back.
So they presented him with that.
Yeah, he was just a
not know
little
that
guy.
story.
Yeah, I have to tell everybody the good stuff. 'cause
Yeah, you tell the good
He's
stuff.
awesome.
We'll tell the bad. And what's that? What's
this
that?
is Ernest. His brothers and sisters got together and gave him, every year on his birthday, he would walk however miles he was old, like when he was 46, when he was 47, all the way until he was 50, and he kept that up, but they said, I ain't giving you any more. But that 50 miles, I tried to walk with him that year. I only
So that
could do
was in a
23.
year's time that he tried to walk.
No, that whole day. His
Oh, the whole
birthday.
day. Lord,
that
where?
birthday.
How would he know?
He walked 50 miles in one day. She did. I was like, and I tried to be with him, but I got blisters and it hurt.
So
With you in spirit.
So it was just Earl and his two sisters, you and the older sister, right?
Yes. Yeah. And
And is she still alive?
yeah, she's up there in Michigan.
How did she get to Michigan?
Well, see, Ernest moved us up there. That was my first memories, was up there. Earl was born up there, I believe. Troy, Michigan. She worked at the AMT plant. They made model cars, toy cars, model toy, the AMT. And Ernest was a mechanic, and that's where there was jobs, an opportunity. I guess Cleveland and Tennessee wasn't too much, so we moved to Michigan.
Was he originally from Cleveland?
No, he was originally from Sweetwater.
Sweetwater, Tennessee. That explains why they're buried in Loudon.
Yep, my
Didn't
mom
you go to
never
Earl's
seen
grave?
I did. On that 20th anniversary, I believe prior to going out to see Ernie that day, Loudon Memorial Gardens.
Gardens.
Yeah. Yeah. up there that day. Have
That's
a
where
picture.
several of them were buried.
So that
Family reunion.
so that solves that mystery.
Yeah.
Connection.
Because Parrish didn't know why he would have been buried. So is your mother buried there
Right
also?
next to Earl. Right next to Earl, and now Ernest is buried right next to Rosa, my mom.
How was she, this may get too deep, but how did she take Earl's death?
It killed her. It really did. And she passed away the very next year. And when one of my best friends, Sophie Sapanic, Harris now, she called me up and she said, Cammie, don't be sad. She wanted to go. See, Sophie's mom and my mom were best friends, and my mom would go over there and have coffee and drink. And her mom told her all she ever talked about was going and being with Earl. So she prayed, and finally, I guess God said, okay, come on. Yeah, I recommend anybody who wants to go, let God decide. Don't do anything drastic because you want to make it to heaven, not the other place. It's not worth leaving.
Growing up, were y'all still in the Church of God heavily?
Okay, now there was a time where people go crazy in churches. I didn't know this, but I asked my mom when I was growing up. I was like, when I was 5, we'd go to church on Sundays, and then all of a sudden we stopped. Why did we stop going to church? And she said, well, honey, I'll tell you. The church we were going to, Baptist, the preacher and the piano player ran off and left his wife and kids. So Ernie got mad. We went to another church. And we were going there for 2 weeks. And that preacher ran off with their piano player and left his family. And Ernie was like, I am not doing this no more. So, but Earl and I, there was a time the Baptist church had the bus. You remember the bus coming around the neighborhood? And we would jump on the bus on Sunday mornings and we could go to church that way. We only did that a few times. And Ernest got mad at us, and you know what he said? He's like, you guys can't go anymore. He said, you act like devils all week, and then you're going to go to church and pretend you're angels. That's what he said. I was like, and I thought, I didn't say a word. You don't do that. You don't talk back. But I thought, well, if we really are devils, how are we going to learn how to be good if can't go? Find out how. But yeah, he came around later. Ernest got better later. But there was a time he was really hurt, and yeah.
Did he end up going to church regularly anywhere, or did he just...
Yes, he did, and he saved all of the church bulletins, so I can know, like, when he went to this church.
Which church did he go? Oh, did he go to various ones?
After my mom passed away, a few years went by, and he got remarried to another Rosa, Rosa Sharon, and yeah.
Another Rose.
And they went to, wasn't
What did your mother pass? She passed away after a year after Earl.
Yeah, Earl passed in 84, my mom in 85. So, Rosa Sharon.
And so what happened to her?
They got divorced later too, but they were together. And I've never seen pictures of Ernest so happy as with that woman. And the first time I saw him smiling so much and so happy in this picture, he was already passed away, and it was like, why wasn't he that happy with us?
Well, life was a little bit. You know, he was raising your mother was raising 3 kids, and
it was hard.
And it was harder on her.
It was rough.
The other lady just comes into this, everything's all right, and so
maybe that
it makes a difference.
But he was. Now I look at it, and I'm really glad that he had happiness, that much joy. It was wonderful.
What did your mother die of?
See, they couldn't say what it was. She had been painting the living room, and that evening there was a great pain in her side, and so she asked him, the pain is too much, I can't take it, would you please take me to the hospital? So he did, and I was living in Louisiana, but I just happened, a God thing, to show up the very next morning on the bus Greyhound. And, hey, I'm here to visit. Well, your mom's in the hospital. What? And so her family came, her mom and her sister came, and they put her right into ICU. She was diagnosed with pneumonia, but then I don't know, when she passed away, they said they couldn't figure out why did she pass away. Didn't seem to be that grave a thing. But so that's why I think, well, God just said, all right.
She wasn't old.
No, she was
that's
42, 42.
Well, I was looking at these numbers here when he did the 50 miles in 1990. He was just been. I'm older than him now.
He was 50. That was how many miles he would walk. However, it was his 50th birthday. He's walking
Can you
50
believe we're that
miles.
old, Parrish?
Hard to believe. Where's all the time gone?
Did Earl? Did he have to mow the yard?
Yes. And he taught me how. Bless his heart, because we bought a little property and it had like 2-3 acres, and I had to mow the yard. And some
Where
of it
is
was
that
really
at?
grown up. It's near the airport, the old airport, off Old Tasso Road there.
Yeah.
So, huge house. Oh, I kicked myself for letting it go. But over 3,000 square feet.
So whose house was that?
That was mine after I was married. And I was like, how do you cut the grass when the grass is so high? He said, well, you have to push down on on the handles, and it'll lift up, and then you go into it and let it down. And every time I mow the grass, when it's high, I think of him. And I was like, thanks for teaching me.
Was it tragic when you heard that they call you at night saying
Oh, Lord. All right. Now, I had been off telling people about Jesus. That was when I was 17. I told the Lord that that's what I'll do. I'll go tell people about Jesus. And so I went to Los Angeles. Right. When the Lord started dealing with me, all right, remember all these bad things you used to do to Earl? He said, I want you to write Earl a letter and apologize for everything you've ever done. And I did. And to remember the things, it had to be God. So I wrote it all down, big pages. And I just sent it off. And I apologized for calling him names, why. We broke his baby bed. You know, the playpens? Mm-hmm. My sister and I, we were jumping on the playpens. And the bottom fell out. And she said, let's blame it on the baby. They won't spank the baby. So we did. So from the very beginning, he had it rough. But so when I heard that he passed away, I had talked to him. Are you saved? Did you ever give your life to the Lord? And he said, that's when I came home and I was talking to him face to face. And he said, well, I did when I was little, I think. I remember doing that. But he was like, I don't know. And so when I heard that he was gone, because I knew that he had gotten into drugs when he was selling those magazines. Did you know he had that job? Selling magazines and going around?
I did not, no.
Yeah, that's when he got like really bad, because he said those were just party animals. You'd just sell the magazines and you'd party at the hotel and stuff. And I was like, So when I heard he passed away, I screamed. I didn't stop. If he was not in heaven, that's forever.
Yeah.
And I did. I didn't stop screaming for like 24 hours. I said, I have got to know, Lord. Just bring him back, or, you know. And I knew if he was here now, at that moment, I said, if he was here, I would grab him and I wouldn't let him go. I would grab him anywhere I had to grab him on his, just not let him go until he gave his life to Jesus, until he was going to be all right forever, because forever in the wrong place is terrible. So I didn't know. That's what happened. Yeah. Now, my grandmother, I was visiting her a year after it passed. And I was washing the dishes. So she was behind me at the table, and I was washing the dishes. And she said, well, Sissy, it's sounds like you think that Earl might not be in heaven. And I turned around and I was crying. I was like, well, Granny, that's just it. I don't know. And she goes, well, darling, I wished you'd have told me sooner. I could have told you the week before he passed away. He came to my church and he went down the aisle and he rededicated his life to Jesus. And the Sunday that he passed away, he's supposed to come up and be baptized. But I guess he didn't have a ride to come to Lenore City. Yeah.
So he drove up to Lenore City just to go to church?
He got a ride up there somehow. But I think he did have to get a ride. And he couldn't get a ride to be baptized. So instead, he did whatever he did. Yeah.
Did that make you feel better? Obviously.
Well, a little. But see, here's the thing. We only look on the outside, and everybody in the world doesn't want anybody to go to hell. So we're going to think, yeah, they're in heaven. They're okay. But I had to hear it from God. Now, there are great, wonderful scriptures, and these are true. God backs up his holy word. He said, my sheep hear my voice. And I said, God, I've got to hear it from you. You're the only one that knows his heart when he passed. Or you're the only one that knows on this planet, is he with you or not? And I've prayed on and off, and it wasn't until 30 years after he was gone. And finally God did answer me, and he said, yes, he is with me. Now, if I had been more persistent, maybe like blind Marta.
How did you hear that voice? How did you hear that?
It wasn't just a voice. It was a lot of different circumstances, like this and this and this, because, and then the voice too. When I see something happening, and the Lord said, this is the answer to your prayer. And when he answers my prayers, does he do this with anybody else? When he's answering it and I'm seeing the answer in front of me, I'm hearing in my memory the very prayer, my own voice praying for that to happen. And so, yeah, Earl is with the Lord. And I want to thank everybody who's ever prayed, because God, there's nothing we can do for somebody now that's already gone on, but God can. God can still. If you have somebody that's gone and you're not sure if they're in heaven or not, the prayers you pray right now, God can answer before you pray. So you might not ever see it actually happen, but God can answer the prayer you're praying today for somebody who passed away 20 years ago. And I can pray for George Washington knowing that God sees the end from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And before you call to me, I will answer you. I can pray for anybody. And I have that faith because it's Bible. God said it, and God...
I don't know what else to go by.
God said it. Exactly.
Besides that.
Exactly.
As far as the accident when it happened, when he was killed, do you have a version of what happened where you... I've talked to some people about it and never really got a clear...
The only version I ever heard was he was supposed to be going to church to be baptized, and something or another with his grandmother, something or another, it didn't work out. He couldn't get up there, so he was hanging out with some friends. From Tammy again, he had decided that he was not in the right place that he should have been since he had rededicated his life. So he was trying to get away from that situation. And when he was trying to get away from that situation, well, yeah. So, again, that's what I heard from Tammy. Tammy was not there. I don't know who she heard that part from, but that's the only thing I've heard. So
It's never been really clear to me. I believe I've talked to some people who were out there that night, even way up in Meigs County.
yeah, it was on 30. And you shed a little bit of light that it was maybe closer to town. I had no idea where it was on 30. And 30's quite large. So I didn't know where in the world it was at. If it was like in the boondocks between Athens and Decatur or what. So.
Did you ever see the newspaper article?
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But when I went to college, filling out Pell Grant, when you go through all that for FAFSA or whatever it's called these days, you have to supply, proof that your parents are deceased. And Mom passed away in '02. So I had to submit all that, and then I was like, crap, where are you going to find an '84 obituary? Library. So went to the library, went through the, what is it called? Film. Basically, it's film, but it's
Microfilm.
Microfilm.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you want to talk about inflation? Go look at one of those from back then and see what a process cost. Oh my gosh. But anyways, roll to the very, very, very end, and it was front page. Wiseman. I think it was like Wiseman passed away on 30, and it made local news quite large. And then it said he'd got hit by a Dodge pickup truck and a Mustang, which is what happened.
That's right. I don't recall the very moment I heard it, but I do remember how I felt that day. And I mentioned before in the previous discussion that, again, I don't remember the very, very first time I met him, but I certainly remember the last time I saw him. Yeah, it looked good, real good.
I can't remember the last time I saw him. I can't remember. When you get up in high school, you can't remember. Yeah, I really knew him to about the 5th or 6th grade. And then, of course, being 2 years older, that was a big deal when you're at that age,
Oh, yeah.
So he was friends with Charlie Yoder.
Yeah, Charlie.
See, there was
they hung
Charlie
out a
and
lot.
Danny and maybe another one.
I don't remember, but they would ride the skateboards. That was their thing. Skateboards. Charlie and Earl. Get around. And Earl rode his bike a lot too. One time he told me he biked 20 miles one day. Must have gone over to yours.
He didn't like to wear shirts, did he, when he was out in the sun?
Well, if he took off his shirt, it must have been after he left the house. Mom wouldn't, I don't think she'd put up with that.
Kids do stuff their parents don't approve of after they leave. No, that was
So did you move back with your father?
Yes.
And then he passed away,
Right,
and you're left with the house?
my sister and I, she didn't want it. And I said, well, obviously you don't, so sell me your half. And she said, okay. And that's what we did.
So you're married now too?
I'm divorced now, too. Mm-hmm.
So you're just living by there by yourself?
Yeah,
No.
I'm trying to get it fixed up and I'll rent it out if anybody wants to.
Who else do you remember that lives in? Do you remember me in the subdivision? I guess you don't, do you?
No, no.
I had a yellow bicycle.
Did you? Tyler Davis was friends with Earl, and he was the next door neighbor. They hung out a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Do you know any Hamiltons
Yeah.
or Plemons?
Hamilton's. She
Rob?
married. No, he had a sister.
Missy.
Missy. I think she married.
Ooh.
I know her. I can't think right
Tina Plemons?
But Tina Plemons. So Tina Plemons. I don't remember who she got married to first. But Missy, I don't remember either. I forgot her first husband's name. But that was another couple that were in that area. So
now. That was Mouse Creek Road. Then
Sheely's.
it stopped. The Sheelys and the Phillipses. Remember the Phillips? What was her name? Kim Phillips. Remember she lived behind us in that bigger house.
I don't remember.
Whitney Mantooth.
I remember Lisa Lambert. She lived on Robin Hood. Lisa was in my class. And,
The Liners. Remember the Liners?
Oh, yeah.
Phil Liner. Was it Phil Liner?
Phil Liner and his sister Kim Liner. Another
Did Phil
gorgeous
pass
girl.
away?
I don't know. His mom, Bobby, she was, I think, we called her, she was wild. She was awesome. And she was my mom's best friend, too. And Norma Davis right next door. We moved in.
Norma Davis, was that next door or was that?
Yeah, very next door to us. Sherry Davis, Jean Davis, who
Jean
married
Davis,
Jack Hall.
Yep, Jack Hall.
Yeah, we were
Now say
very
that again,
best of
Jack
friends.
Hall?
Jack Hall. Yeah.
You mean the guy that owned the Chevrolet place?
His dad did.
Is that, yeah.
And he got a Porsche while he was still in school. And I think he
Jack's
crashed
still
it.
alive.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, his daddy's still alive, isn't
Oh,
he?
his daddy, okay.
What, Phil Liner, he had the best foosball pull shot there was.
Did he?
Bar none.
Do you,
He could.
do you know that when he would play basketball, he would do that blind ABCs as he would, and he would shoot, and he would have like one of the ABCs in his hand. You can go back and look at pictures if you can do it at the library.
You mean,
Yeah.
Phil?
Phil Liner would
Yeah.
do that, and yeah,
He was fast with his fingers,
he was something else.
hands.
Yeah. And their dad, Gene Liner, he owned the gas station on the corner of Ocoee
Yeah.
and 25th Street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was that their dad?
Yep.
And that was Phil's. Phil was, he was a little older than me too. And I ran into him later on when I was in my 30s, and we hung out together a
Did
little bit.
you? Yeah.
And anyway, it was a different. Tony Liner, he lived down the road. Tony Liner, he works for the police department now.
Does he?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Is that where the Walgreens sits now?
No, it's where Bourbon and Blades. I think it's
That gas
Bourbon and Blades.
station.
Yeah, that's
That
yeah,
gas station. I remember that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was a good subdivision, and Mouse Creek Road was after you passed Creek Bend was gravel. It was gravel all the way up to Charleston. That was different times.
Yeah.
Then later they had Hamilton, Mapleton, and all of that. But yeah, I like to say that Earl was really nice to me. He liked me. I always thought he was smart, and I remember, like you said, he seemed to be for the underdog or the less fortunate. He had a compassion. Do you remember that?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I do. There was a good sense of that when we ran together, yeah.
He was somebody you could trust.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He was, yeah. I never had to put it to the test. I count on Earl. Had some of the most fun. I remember running around early 20s with him. 18, 19, right in there. Yeah. Remember it like it was yesterday.
What makes you think he was trustworthier?
Oh, yeah, well, you know, I've mentioned before, kind of at that age, you had to kind of watch your best friend and try to get your, you know, make time with your lady if you weren't careful there. And Earl would never anything like that. That was a good gauge right there.
I mean, you've brought that up a couple of times. It must have been, you really must think it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely there. Yeah, we, I don't know if you saw the show tonight, we were out. Pretty tense situation with the tires there. I bought earlier in the week there.
That's a good little story.
Yeah, and then the other night he chased down that gal drove by my car. Yeah, I just enjoyed running with him. You knew you were going to have fun. It was going to be a fun night out, no matter what. With Earl Wiseman.
Did he graduate, do you think?
You know, probably not. It seemed like he might drop out.
I guess he went to Cleveland. According to her, he went to Cleveland. Reckon he graduated there?
I graduated and left home right away. Like, I graduated 79.
So you don't know if 4 years later.
I don't think I think maybe he didn't, because they held him back, didn't they? And he was. Yeah.
I don't remember him ever getting held back. Wonder when, what grade, reckon?
I don't know. But
He was real smart, I always thought.
When I saw that letter from the school system expelling him because the parents didn't show up, and I was like, why didn't I take a greater interest in his life? You know, why wasn't I there for him more?
Well, we can all say that.
Yeah.
We can all say that.
About anything.
So about anything. So I would. So Brandon, you've turned out okay.
I mean, seemingly.
What do you do for a living?
So I work for AT&T. I'm in communications, so my job is in Knoxville, so I stay on the road quite a bit as far as traveling back and forth.
So you live in Chattanooga and you commute
93 miles one way
every day?
every day.
Golly.
Yeah, so it's great.
Why don't you just move to Chattanooga or Knoxville?
Kids are in cool kids' situation with school. They like being where they're at, and the in-laws are what 2.5 miles away. So the network as far as
The support?
yeah, it's kind of
What part of Chattanooga?
Ottawa, about a mile from exit 11. So that's where I'm at. So I pass by through here all the time. Again, grew up here, so that's where.
So you drive all the way to Knoxville what time do you have to leave?
Just 5:30. To be there
Not
by
much
7.
traffic then, is there?
No, you can boot scoot down the interstate.
What time do you leave the job?
4. So when we leave at 4, I can typically be back home by 5:40.
Because you got to drive another 15 minutes. Well, you're getting home by the time everybody else does.
Yes, I get home by the time everybody else does. Which before I took the inside job, it was you never knew what time it would be done. So even though mileage is crap, travel time is crap, but I love driving, so I don't mind that aspect. You get your alone time, you get your music time. So run up the interstate, run back. It's just time, but it's a job.
What do you do for them?
So mine is basically in dispatch. It's AT&T has it's an enormous company, but it has different divisions in it, and this one is special services. So special services deals with all of your cell towers, 911 sites, government sites, and large corporations. So we make sure that the circuits go down. If circuits go down to cell sites, you have a X amount of time in order to have that service restored. If you go beyond that time frame, then we start paying money out. So it's high dollar contracts that we try to just keep up and running.
It's intense, I guess, right?
Not from my aspect. My aspect's fairly simple. It's mainly just working with your field technicians going, all right, here's what we got for the day. And then whatever breaks during the time. So if Joe, the excavator guy out here, digs up the rainbow of cable,
Yeah,
well,
I've
there
done that
goes
before.
so many circuits, right? So it's like, all right, I know you're planning on getting off at 5 o'clock today. It's probably gonna be like 11 o'clock tonight. So that's what we do, is just try to keep things
Did you
working.
go to Cleveland High or Bradley?
Negative, sir. I went to Bradley. Grandparents went to El Ross, and graduating at El Ross in 6th grade, it was some of your friends are going to Cleveland, some of your friends are going to Bradley, and more of my friends went to Bradley. So I went to Bradley Junior and got out of Bradley Central in 2002. Went to Lee, got out of Lee in 06.
They send you to Lee and everything?
No. Mine was, Lee was actually my last option. But with Mom having cancer, when I was, going through high school and whatnot, didn't know the whole situation of what it would be for her. So I was looking at going to Ohio for school. And my late junior summer, she just wasn't in great shape. And she hung on for another year. But I was like, not knowing when you're going to die, of course. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll stay close just in case. And then, so she passed in August, and I was already starting at Lee. I was like, well, there's no point in changing schools after 1 year. Let's go ahead and get 2 years knocked out, then I'll transfer and go somewhere else. Well, 2 years got knocked down. I'd already made my network of friends at Lee, and I was like, well, it's just 2 more years. Lee's not a terrible place. I'll finish out at Lee. So
Very good.
I stuck it out at Lee. But yeah, I had no plans on going to Lee.
Yeah.
Not at all. I was going to be basically like Earl, be like, what'd you study? Beer. Beernomics. That's what I studied in
Do
school.
you know anybody else that knew Earl well? I mean, is there anybody else besides us that's...
Not that, no, I mean, obviously not outside the family, but no, not that I've come across. No, most people knew would know Gene and Charles on the McDonald side. Most of them knew them, so I'll run into that, but I guess because my last name's not Wiseman.
And he died so young.
And he died so young.
I mean, you're how
So-
old now?
42?
So you're twice as old as he was.
Yes. Yeah. So when I was 20 years old, 4 months and 8 days, I actually went to his grave just to commemorate that. I was like, I'm actually the same age you are when you died. And I'm like, I was just sitting there looking, I was like,
Ooh.
God. I was like, I'm young, I feel great, and then it's over. It's like, I mean, that was hard to, it's hard to imagine.
Sure.
Even, I mean, if you're, however, just 20 years old and like, hey, time's up, time to come home. That's hard to imagine. So, but that's what I did. That's what I did when I was there and I saw it and I did the math, which was very simple to work that out. I was like, all right, when I'm this age, I'm coming back and I'll be right here on that day. So,
Well, Earl would have been very proud of him, wouldn't he?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I hope so. I'll sit there and drink a beer at his grave.
You know, he told me that he was planning on marrying a girl that had a baby. What did I think about that? And I said, I
There you have
think
it.
that's wonderful.
There you have it.
But he didn't tell me it was his baby. I said, well, if whoever the father wasn't man enough to marry her, and you're going to marry her and be a father to this baby, I think that's wonderful. And I do think he told my sister too, but she figured it out that it was his. And I think my mom knew. So I thought for sure that he'd already talked to her and asked her. I mean, why would he talk to his sisters and his mom before he already asked the question? So all this time, it's just recently that he told me he hadn't asked her yet.
No, he had talked to Tammy maybe a day or two before, and he was like, "Hey, I need to ask you a question. You gonna be around tomorrow or the next day or whatever it was?" And tomorrow or the next day never came. So, and Tammy, she was upset about that one, and I remember that because she made it visibly known that it really hurt her. Anytime she talked about it, she was like, "That was my baby. That was my baby." So she loved him. And again,
Oh, yeah.
you can love someone and you go through your trials and tribulations and you break away, but you still have that soft spot.
Oh,
yeah.
And her soft spot was like that big for him. So she never got remarried, or excuse me, married. She never got married.
The other time we were out together as a group couple there, yeah, they were getting along very good.
Yeah, I guess Earl, Parrish was with them when they met. Evidently, he did not know her prior. I don't believe that's correct. I believe, because you'd have known, he'd never met her, right?
Do you guys know the name Marlene McNabb? She was running with Tammy, and she was certainly from McDonald County at the time, and that's
The last name sounds familiar, but I mean, growing up with my grandparents, Gene and Charles, they knew majority of this daggum town. So I've met a lot of different people, and McNabb may just be, Leroy McNabb or something of that nature. So that may have been where I just heard it.
they were down there at the game room that night. Talking about the
Where was
early
it at?
discussion.
The game room.
Tokens game room. I've got a picture of that on my cell phone. I'll show you later how we used to.
It's Jones Management now.
Is it the Village Green?
It's a
Check into cash.
check into cash.
Outlet
Is
there.
where, yeah.
Yeah, I used to work there.
A check into
And
cash.
ironic. How ironic.
At
At that
That's-
one unit?
So you've got where Parks and Belk used to be, yeah?
Yeah.
The JMC building. And then you've got the corridor
Yeah.
Breezeway.
Yeah, that's where Whoop FM is.
Yes, right next to BHP, or what used to be BHP.
Yeah.
I met a good friend there, actually. But across the street is, or was, I don't know what the situation for his checking and cash empire is now, but across the street you had store support, and you had collections, and you had loan by phone and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where I worked right after college. Was in their store support IT area. So the part I remember about it is there used to be a Revco, and you had the bowling alley in the basement, and the grandmother was on a bowling league at the Village Greens. So I used to spend a lot of time at the Village Greens, typically at the little cafeteria and the arcade that was behind it. So whenever you were talking about Token's game room, I was like, is that the same spot?
It's where the check and the cash actual storefront is there.
Okay.
That was Token.
And there was another game room and maybe the alley down there, the little alley thing for a while.
Yes.
But when we were running around hanging out, we'd just be on the sidewalk a lot. It was a cruising strip. People would be up and down and hit Keith, 25th, skate rink, Fantasy World, just kind of a crazy figure eight type of thing, what kids do. And
that's where your daddy met your mother.
But, yeah, most likely.
Yeah, because he's living proof. He used to know.
Well, that's because she probably went with Jean during her bowling
the bowling
adventures.
thing. Well, there's a connection.
So, hey, Mom, I'm going to go over here. All right, I'll be bowling until 8.
What we're learning here on this show, after retro of 40-something years, because Earl went down this way, I went in the game room, and we eventually came together, and then...
when you had the back alley entrance into the bowling alley as well, those steps that went down.
Oh, yeah.
That was the main entrance.
There were a lot of pinball machines down there.
Yes.
I'm old enough to remember when it'd be...
Well, yeah, me too. I was about this tall, from what I remember. But, I remember playing on some of those down there myself.
Yeah.
It was dark down there.
So that was what Tammy was likely down...
That was why she was there.
That's why she was there.
They're all come together. It's...
Yeah, I don't remember. The grandfather had a bowling ball, but Jean had 6. And again, I've got pictures from her being in the leagues and whatnot. And she had her own bowling ball. So bowling was big for them. But that is probably...
Well, that's all you did during that time is you went into Tokens, you went down there, you came up and back there, drove to Hardee's, went to Walmart parking lot, I guess it was, or Big Lots.
Yeah.
Came back to Tokens, and that's what you did till 12 or 1. That's what you did.
Wasn't, it had many options, especially back in the 70s and 80s. So, not so much. But that's honestly, that's probably how that worked out.
I believe that's how it is. I believe that's how it come together.
Yeah.
Who is the third? Who is the girl?
But the girl that I was out with that I ran into was Marlene McNabb.
Oh yeah,
from McMahon County.
That's what we need to do is find her. She'll fill the rest of this gap.
Right.
I saw her last in probably 80, left.
She probably still remembers you.
Athens Red Food Store. Hope so. In late 85. Late 85. Maybe even did 86. Left them up there. But I ran into her in the parking lot there, just to kind of a random. She was still in McMahon County at that time, so roots were up there. I haven't seen her since. Well, that's been a long time ago.
Well, I think that Earl would be very proud of you. I know that for sure. And I'm here to tell you, and Parrish is here to verify that you had a great dad. And I liked him.
Well, thank you.
We were never out throwing beer balls and stop signs or anything like that.
This meeting, this happenstance is not a. It was evidently is not a coincidence. And I'm just here to tell you, Earl was a great guy, and I liked him, and Earl liked me.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's good to hear stories about him.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love the stories.
Thank God.